Fix and flip real estate with no money. Here's how I'd do it. First of all, let's just get down to the brass tacks right out the gate. The whole fix and flip, or really any venture with no money, is sort of true. First of all, the whole no money thing doesn't mean that you don't have a job with income coming in. What people mean by that is that you don't have $10, $20, $30, $50,000 chilling in your bank account that you can use for this venture. Or you've got a investor who's covering all the expenses while you're managing it and working it. So let's just get that right out of the gate. So step one, if I was going to try to get into the fix and flip game with no money, here's how I'd start. I would figure out if I've got good credit or not. If you've got good credit, awesome, we'll move on to the next step. If you've got no credit, that's an easy fix. 30 days you'll have great credit. If you've got bad credit, you got to do a little bit more, but again, in 30 days you could have good credit. And I will actually tell you how to do all that at the end of this video. We'll come back to that. So, but there are some things you can do. So once you figure out your credit situation, the next thing that I would do is I would start reaching out to real estate brokerage firms that primarily specialize in fix and flip real estate. You can literally just get on Google and type in real estate agents that specialize in fix and flip real estate, and they exist. They'll pop up. Give them a call and just tell them, say, hey, I'm new to fix and flips, but I'm super eager to get into it, and I was just curious, do you have a mortgage broker or a mortgage loan originator that you could point me to who will write me a hard money loan? And that's going to be music to their ears, and they're going to say, yeah, I got a guy or a girl. Just give them a call, or they'll have them call you, whatever. And we'll get more on that, because there's going to be some things you're going to want to say when that time comes. But then he or she, whoever your real estate agent is, they're going to start sending you lists of properties that they can get you. And just a prime example, I've seen properties be $30,000 and probably need $90,000 worth of work. And once all the work was going to be done, the APR, after repair value, or APV, or wow, I'm really messing that up. ARV, after repair value, could be as much as $250,000. So, you know, there's pretty good margins there. And really, when it comes to fix and flip real estate, there's really only two strategies. And whether you go with strategy A or strategy B really is determined by the market and what the market's doing at that time. And we'll go over that here in just a minute. So you start trying to get an idea of what these properties are going to look like, and kind of just determining what you're getting yourself involved with. That's pretty much where I would start, right? So just to recap: credit score, call a realtor that does fix and flips, ask for a loan originator, mortgage loan originator who specializes in hard money loans. What is a hard money loan? So a hard money loan is basically a type of loan that you can get that's really, I think, pretty much only for fix and flips. And the idea is that they are high interest loans that when you pay it every single month, it goes to the interest only. It never goes to the principal. That means that when you pay $1,100 a month on that mortgage, and you paid $130,000 for the house, and every single month you throw $1,100 or $1,000 a month at it, at the end of the year, you're still going to owe $130,000 because it didn't go towards the house payment at all. It all went to interest. And that's usually how long hard money loans are for, is about 12 months. So the idea behind that is they are designed for you to, for one, you don't necessarily need good credit to get a hard money loan, but it will determine how much your monthly payment is. Hence why you want good credit. Two, it's designed that more or less, I didn't know this, I actually found this out the hard way. If you go take out a conventional loan and you pay it off too soon, basically what happens is you didn't give time for the bank to make money on you, loaning you money. And so they punish you by wrecking your credit for doing so. I think the first time I did that, and the only time I did that, I lost like 100 points for paying off a loan too early. I didn't even know that was a thing. That's how I found out. So with a hard money loan, it's designed for you to pay off within the first 12 months or even sooner. You just don't get punished, but it's interest only payments and the interest is high. So that's kind of how that works. So now you start, now that you kind of got an idea of what that's like, what you're going to do is you're going to get on the phone, talk to the mortgage loan originator and say, hey, I need a hard money loan. And they're going to say, absolutely. And the very first thing you want to ask is, I want it to say in the contract, non-recourse. I want a non-recourse loan. What that basically means is, so your standard loan is typically a recourse loan, which means if you don't make the payment, the bank can come after your assets like your car, your house. They can come after your wages, start garnishing your paychecks until you pay that off. When you have a non-recourse loan, they can't do any of that, and it basically just says that if I fail to meet the obligation of meeting these payments, the bank will only take the asset that loan bought, and that's it. It won't even hit your credit or affect your credit score. So you want to be very clear with the bank when it comes to this, and most of your hard money loans, it's very easy to get a non-recourse loan. You're buying this asset with the idea that you're not going to live in it, you're going to make money with it. And so if I don't meet the obligation of making the payments, you're not going to come after me, you're just going to take the asset, in this case, the fix and flip home. Okay, so that is your primary thing when talking to that mortgage loan originator, and before you sign anything, is you tell him, point to me where it shows that this is a non-recourse loan. Can't stress that enough. So now you start kind of getting into the groove of these things, and you start looking at properties and you go, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to buy this one. So I'm going to throw out an example of how this kind of thing would work. So you find, let's say, a house here in Florida, because I live here in Florida, so that's why I'm going to use Florida, and Tampa. Or better yet, let's say you find a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo in St. Petersburg, Florida. And let's say that they're asking $120,000 for it. Okay? You look at the pictures that the guy sent you, that the real estate agent will send you and ask you, what do you think of this deal? And you go, you know what? I think this could be okay. I think I could be comfortable with this. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to call that real estate agent and say, hey, I like this property that you sent me. Do you have a general contractor that you could recommend me? And be very specific on the fact that you want more than one. You want at least 2, but preferably 3 GCs, general contractors, that you can reference to me. And here's why you want to do that. It's important that a general contractor be good at what they do and be good at making money on these kind of deals, obviously, but it's also important that you and that general contractor can get along. Otherwise, this is going to be a long road for you, because you're trying to not only make money with this guy, but you're trying to build a relationship, right? You're building a relationship with the bank, with that mortgage loan originator, you're building a relationship with this realtor, and now you're going to build a relationship with this GC. And all of y'all need to be able to play ball so this can be a smooth working machine. I personally verbally say that, look, we're a team here. We're going to do this thing, and we're going to build a relationship here. This is a professional relationship. So we all need to be on the same page and be able to talk to one another. So, okay. So then you start talking to the GCs, you talk to 1, 2, 3, and you figure out, I kind of like this person, let's go with them. And you get over there to the freaking condo, and you have the GC give you his honest opinion and say, okay, what do you think it's going to take to get this thing renovated? And a good GC will tell you exactly the cost. And so he'll probably say, you're going to need at least $50,000 minimum. So you're in $170,000 now. Okay. Now, it's very important that you tell the GC, okay, what's it going to be on the high side? High side, you're going to be safe at $70,000. I don't think you'd go over $70,000, but you'd be very safe at $70,000. Can you guess which number I'm going to tell you to take out? The $70,000. You do not want to be in a predicament where you have taken out a loan with this bank and you run out of funds in the middle of the rehab, and now you are having to come out of pocket, whatever, right? So you decide that's the route you're going to go. You're going to take out the $70,000. So you need $200,000 for this loan. Okay. So here's where the whole no money thing is true, but kind of a lie at the same time. So you per se don't need any money, but that doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be any money involved to make this happen. And I hate that people do that and say that, like, oh, you don't need any money. Yes, you do. It's just, maybe it's not your money, but money is going to have to be involved to make this transaction happen. And here's how that works. So you call the mortgage loan originator, you tell them the deal, you've already been pre-approved, and, you know, of course, they're going to want to know if you have any liquidated assets, stocks, you know, equity in your home, cash, if you've got excess cash in a bank account. And if you don't, it's not necessarily a problem. It's a way for these banks to mitigate some of the risk and try to figure out, are you actually going to be able to do this thing or not? I've seen people with literally no money in their account, no assets. The only thing they have is a car and an apartment, and they can still secure a hard money loan. But with that being said, when it comes to the closing table and you start getting the loan, you're gonna have to cover closing costs. I have seen it to where the bank will cover 90% and you're gonna have to cover the 10, which is the closing costs, right? So they'll bring 90% of the funds to the table to get this deal done, but you're gonna have to get some skin in the game, and that could be $7,000, $10,000. And that's where that whole, like, oh, there's no money involved thing, right? So when people say that, what they mean is find somebody that's not your money to cover that $10,000 cost and possibly pay for the mortgage or part of the mortgage. And in return, you tell them, I will give them all their money back plus a percentage, right? And that percentage could end up being 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, whatever. You agree, it depends on how well the deal does. And so that's what they mean by, you know, that you can flip houses with no money. You can. I mean, they make it sound easier than what it really is. So what you do there is I've seen it to where, man, I've seen it to, I've helped 19-year-old kids do this right out of high school, and mommy and daddy were their investor. They were lucky enough that mommy and daddy could throw $12,000 down to, you know, finish the closing costs. And he had a job at like Chipotle, and I think the mortgage was like $1,000, but then and I think it was a condo, ironically, in St. Petersburg, or I can't remember, but he had to pay $1,000 for the mortgage, and then I think the HOA for that neighborhood was like $500, so he had to come out $1,500 a month. He was living rent-free with mom and dad, and mom and dad gave him the money for the closing costs, and he told them, I'll give you the closing costs back plus a percentage of the deal. And that was how that worked. And that's what people mean by no money. It takes money. So another way that I've helped clients get over that hurdle when they're like, dude, how am I supposed to come up with the closing costs? It really depends. There's 101 ways to go about this, and there is no one shoe fits all for this, unfortunately. I've had clients where they're like, dude, I don't have 10 grand, and right now we live paycheck to paycheck, but they had a house and they had equity in that house, and so they could take out either cash refi out and do that. They could take out a what is that called, HELOC loan. HELOC loan is basically a home equity line of credit, and it's just a credit card that you can get where when you swipe that credit card, it goes against the equity in your home. If you don't know what equity in your home is, it's really this simple. Let's say you bought a house for $100,000 10 years ago, you've been paying on it, and now you owe $80,000, but the market has also gone up, so your house is actually now worth $200,000, right? So you have like over $100,000 in equity, right? And so when you swipe that credit card for that HELOC loan, you are borrowing from that line of credit of what that line of credit is, the equity in your home. So I've seen people do that. If you don't have that, This is where it starts getting really kind of difficult, because then it becomes, mommy and daddy can't give me the loan. I don't have anybody to borrow money from. And okay, maybe you got a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. Sometimes you got to sit down and print out your financial statements and sit there and with a highlighter and figure out where your money's going. You should do that anyway. You should know where all your spending habits. I did it, and you find some things out about yourself, and you don't realize that you're spending so much money. Prime example, I was spending close to $300 a month in Monster energy drinks. Stop doing that, because that's stupid. I mean, I couldn't believe how much money I was spending at Circle K on energy drinks. So you can sit there and go things through like that, and make it to where if both partners are working, I've set it up to where we cleaned up their finances and their spending habits. They made a conscious effort, and it got to where one partner could cover all the bills, or at least 90% of the bills, and then the other partner could either cover the 10% of the bills and the new mortgage, or could just cover the mortgage, and this guy or girl could cover the expenses of their day-to-day life, right? Okay, well, now I don't have a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, and it's just me. That's where you're going to have to get a partner. You're going to have to find somebody that has money, and then you're going to have to convince them that, hey, here's the deal. I'm doing these fix and flips. I know how to do it. I'm going to manage it. I'm going to work it. I'm going to see to it that we get the money. But what that really means is the trade-off there is you're going to pay for the closing cost, and you're going to pay the mortgage every month. And then we're going to keep an Excel sheet of how much money you've paid every single month and how much the closing cost was. And at the end of this deal, you're going to get all the money that you put back into it, and I'm going to have to pay you an additional amount for being willing to do that. That's pretty much the only ways I know how to make that happen. Okay, so let's say that you cover these hurdles and you get the fix and flip deal. You get the 2-bedroom condo, and it's all working out just like that. Somebody's covering the mortgage and the HOA fee, and you've got enough money to get the rehab done. You paid $120K. The after payment value, according to the real estate agent, is going to be $250. There's a big spread there, and you got to get to work. You're not going to give that general contractor the entire $70,000 all up front. I have seen people make that mistake, and it is exactly that, a mistake. What you're going to do is you're going to sit down with that general contractor, and you're going to create a thing called an SOV, schedule of values, or schedule of valuables. So what that means is a prime example is you'll sit down and say, hey, we're going to do the kitchen, we're going to remodel the entire kitchen. What day do you think you're going to start? And I'm just going to make these dates up. We're going to start February 1st. Okay, when do you think the entire kitchen will be done? By February 18th. Okay. So that means they're going to have an 18 duration days to get that done. And you're going to hold them to it too, by the way. That's like your new job, is holding them accountable for those dates. Those are hard dates. And the way that's going to go is they're going to say, okay, every week, every Friday, whatever, you guys work it out. They're going to send you an updated schedule. And for that particular column, it's February 1st, they started. Today they got 5% done. Next Friday, they're at 20%. And they're going to keep doing that. And here's the deal. You're going to have to go to the house and check on it and be like, are they really 20% done? Yeah, I see a change from last week and this week. They're moving along. And eventually they're going to get to 100%. And you're going to go in there, you're going to inspect it and go, yep, that's exactly 100%. Sink works. It's pretty. Everything looks right. Cabinets are painted. Whatever y'all talked about the kitchen remodel being, it is that. It's picture perfect. It's done. That schedule will then say kitchen remodel 100% completion. Now, like I said, this can just be an Excel sheet. And so in that tab, it's at 100% complete. So then you look at your schedule of values that you and the GC agreed upon, which can also be a Excel sheet. And they said that you two agreed on the fact that when the kitchen remodel was done, that it would be worth $10,000. So now you need to cut a check to your GC for $10,000 for meeting that milestone of completing the kitchen remodel. Now, one of the reasons why you don't just give it to them all up front may not be for reasons you may think. People automatically assume a GC is going to take it and screw you over or whatever. That's not necessarily why. The main reason is because, for one, I mean, there is that part, right, where they may already have the money, so they may take their time and drag it out because we've already been paid. And I've also seen it the other way where they go faster because they've already been paid. But here's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is that you can start calling around and finding out where the high interest savings accounts are at banks for savings accounts. You need to put that money in that, you know, whether it's a 6%, 7%, I've seen it as high as 8% interest yield on a savings account for businesses. Okay, guess what? That $70,000 for repairs now making 7% every single month while it's being built. So, okay, it took them 18 days to get the sink done. You're gonna have to pay them out. Oh, and by the way, you can set it up to where you get paid 30 days after the SOV is complete, or I'm sorry, after the task is complete. So if they got done on the 18th, you don't pay them out till 30 days later. That lets that money sit there and make money in that account before you have to pay it out. So that's how you can offset some of this stuff too. So then, but you need to pay them, and you need to be sure to pay him on time. Those guys don't work for free. They got guys to pay. They got payroll to cover. It's important that you pay on time and that you guys are up front in the beginning that's how that's going to work. There doesn't need to be any surprises. And then honor it. So that's kind of how that works. So you're going to have to create a schedule with SOVs, schedule of valuables, and you need to personally manage that GC. And when I say manage, basically just make sure he's actually done what he says is complete. If he says the kitchen's done, go look. If it's not done, why are you saying it's complete? This needs done, you know. And they call that a punch list. You start creating a punch list. This needs fixed. This drawer needs fixed. Whatever. That's what you're going to be doing. Okay. So, now that we got some of that squared away, the house is finally done. And this can take, I've seen it take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. But typically, if you got a good GC and you bought a good property that's not just a nightmare, it can be done in 3 to 6 months, no problem. Okay, you're done in 3 to 6 months. So now the question becomes, do I flip it and sell it, or do I rent it? That all determines on the market, okay? Now remember, you've got this hard money loan. You're paying a high interest loan, and you've got 12 months to get out from underneath it. So, and you want to get out from underneath it anyway because you're paying an arm and a freaking leg on this mortgage. Okay, so here's the big trick, right? So let's pretend for a moment that the market's great, okay? And we're gonna sell it. And right now houses are flying off the shelf. That happened here in Florida not just a couple years back. You'd put a house on the market for $250,000, you get an all cash offer for $380,000. Obviously take that deal. Okay, so, but let's even just say you get what the house is worth, right? And because I want the math to be easy, let's say it sold for $290,000, and I'm making this number up. I just don't want to do the math. And after you pay your realtor the 6% and all this stuff, it comes out to where you make $150,000. Okay. The thing is that as soon as you do that, you have got to pay capital gains tax. Okay. Now here's the name of the game, and here's how you start staying ahead. On this first deal, you really need it to be profitable. You really, 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 really do. Because remember, you made $150,000, but you have to. Okay, you have an investor. You got to pay that guy his money back. You've got to. You got to pay him whatever percentage you agreed to in that scenario. Okay, well now you don't have $150,000. And what really stinks about this particular scenario is that you've also got to pay capital gains tax. So when it's all said and done, you may have made $70,000. I'm making this up as I go. Like I said, I'm not going to sit there and do the calculations. But the point I'm trying to make is you've got to pay back your investor. You got to pay him back the money put as the down payment at the closing table, and you got to pay, if he was covering any of the mortgage at all, you got to pay him, and if you were paying any of the mortgage, you got to pay yourself back before you can even talk about, okay, now we got to pay you this amount for loaning me the money, essentially, and then I got to pay myself. And really, you're not going to pay yourself on this deal because you're going to use it to roll into the next one. But let's say that this guy's like, actually, I want to be business partners and let's make this an actual business. And if he doesn't, and that's okay, the good news is you won't need him again for the next one because now you got working capital. So the next best scenario is that what you'll do is file a 1031 exchange. Okay, so, and just to be clear, because I'm not sure if I was, if you got to pay capital gains tax, your real estate agent, and the investor back, that leaves you with theoretically $70K. That $70K is now, you're going to go do another fix and flip property on your own. You're not going to do that investor anymore. You don't need him. You've got the money, you've got the startup money now. So, but if you end up wanting to just be a partner, then you can do this. So you're going to leave all the money in the house and you're going to file a 1031 exchange. You'll have to pay your real estate agent, but after that, what that 1031 exchange does is it lets you take the money that you would have made and buy either a property of the same value or more than one property. The deal is that you have to use the full amount. So if you made $150,000, you can't file a 1031 exchange and then file 100 and only spend 100,000 and think you're going to pocket the 50. It doesn't work that way. You have to spend the full 150 on another house or multiple homes. Okay. So this time on this, what you can do is you can buy either a rental property, right, or multiple fix and flips. Kind of gets scary when you start doing that, but it can be done. So for the sake of argument, let's just say you decide to buy multiple fix and flip properties. Okay. So you just keep doing that, obviously, until that game's over and you've got a bunch of properties, right? And what ends up happening is like by the time you've fixed one, sold one, bought 3, fixed 3, sold 3, bought 9, fixed 9, sold 9, what they'll do is they'll buy like an apartment complex. They're like, hey, this is enough money. Because see, here's the thing. You don't, like if an apartment complex over here is $5 million and at this point you've fixed and flipped enough homes to make $1 million or $2 million, whatever, and you've been doing a 1031 exchange, there's two big factors here. If you don't continue the 1031 exchange, you have to pay capital gains tax. Not on the simple $2 million. You got to pay capital gains tax for every single house you sold. So they got to go back to that very first house and go, you owe capital gains tax for this one, these 3, these 9, these 12. See what I'm saying? So the idea is to just roll it over to the point you never pay taxes on that capital for that capital gains. So you usually end it with a big fat cash flowing property. And in this case, we're going to choose apartment complexes. So you find an apartment complex and you do a 1031 exchange on the last one to buy that home, and you're never going to sell this. You're going to own this forever. So, or if you do sell it, you're going to do a 1031 and buy 3 of the apartment complexes. But you're never going to just sell out and just cash that check, because then you got a lot of money in taxes. And plus now you got cash flow from the apartment complex. So another thing with the 1031 exchange is I believe you've got 40 days to identify a property. And by the way, like that $150,000, the original 150, right? You don't get to pocket it either. It's got to be held by a qualified personal, and they basically hold the money and you never even see it. You never get to hold it. And so you got 40 days to identify a property, and then I think it's 180 days to close on property or properties with that cash in the full amount. So you got to kind of move. And like I said, in the end, let's say that you end up buying an apartment complex and you're like, hey, this apartment complex is $5 million, but we've only got 2. Nothing says that you can't put the $2 million towards the apartment complex and then get like a DCSR loan to cover the rest. DCSR loan is basically says that you have this cash flowing rental property, and let's say that the mortgage is $7,000, okay? A DCSR loan says that as long as the property's cash flow covers the mortgage at least 2 times over, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 3, but in this case, let's, for sake of argument, says it covers the mortgage 2 times over. So that means that that apartment complex, in order for it to be a DCSR loan, it would need to cover the mortgage 2 times. So it needs to make $14,000, right? So that means that the renters that are paying rent every month are paying $7,000 to the bank and then $7,000 to you. That's how that works. That's how the DCSR loan is basically works. And then you still got to put up the 20% at least, and then here comes the $2 million, right? So then you put in the $2 million, and now that capital gains tax doesn't get hit on you, and now you've got a property, apartment complex that's cash flowing. In this scenario, we're arguingly saying $7,000. A $5 million apartment complex probably brings in closer to $40,000 a month, but you get the idea. So, okay, scenario number, so basically fix, flip, 1031 exchange, buy more properties, fix, flip, 1031 exchange, buy even more properties, and then it ends with buying something like an apartment complex or a storage unit, whatever. Something that's cash flowing, and then you can live off that cash flow. Okay, option number 2. The market's not so great, okay? So now what you're gonna do is you're gonna do something referred to as the BRRRR method. It's just buy, rehab, refinance, repeat. And it is exactly that. You buy the property, you rehab it, right? Because you remember, you are stuck under this hard money loan. Let's not forget, high interest, got 12 months. So you're stuck on this. So you buy it, rehab it, refi it with a conventional loan. So now it's back to like your typical, I think right now loans are like in the 6% instead of a hard money loan being around 11, 12. Okay, so now that means that you, let's use the original scenario too, the 2-bedroom condo at $120K, but the after repair value is at $250,000. Okay, when you refi, you can refi up to 75% of the total value of the house. This is where getting your money back and all this starts coming into play. So you refi the house up to 75% of the $250,000. Out of that cash, what you're gonna do is you're gonna pay yourself the money that you put into it. So if you've been paying, let's say it took you 3 months and you spent $3,000 in the mortgage, you need to pay yourself $3,000. If you covered the closing table or an investor or whatever, but in this argument, let's say you did, you'd pay yourself 10 grand. Okay, so now you've paid yourself $13,000. What that now means is you have zero of your money in that house, okay? So that is what we call a 100% bank-owned property. So even if the bank comes and takes this house, you don't have any money in it. You've got all your money out through the refi. So that's why it's important to do that. That's a 100% bank-owned property. It's in the title's in your name, but none of your money's in it. So again, you're going to refi up to the 75% of the $250,000. First thing you're going to do is pull the money that you put into it out through the cash refi, right? To the cash out refinance. So in that case, I can't do that math in my head, unfortunately. I'm just not that awake today. But you're going to pay yourself the 13 grand in that scenario that you put into it, which was for covering the mortgage for 3 months at $1,000 a month, and you put $10,000 at the closing costs. Okay, none of your money's in it no more. Now what you're going to do is whatever's left over is yours, right? And here's the deal. When it comes to refinancing, the money is considered a loan, and loans aren't taxed. So you're not having to pay taxes on this money either. So let's say that you refied up to 75%, and just for the sake of argument here, you made, I don't know, let's just say 80,000 bucks. You take out the 13 and you're at like 60 something, right? you get to keep the rest of that money. That, let's just argue $68,000. It's $68K. That $68K goes in your pocket tax-free. Then what you're going to do, that's the buy, rehab, refi portion, and then the rent. Now what you're doing is that monthly mortgage, you are pawning off on somebody else. That's becoming somebody else's problem. And so now let's say the mortgage is, I don't know, here in Florida, here lately, I don't think it's crazy to say a mortgage is $2,000 a month these days. So you rent out your house for the exact amount. See, a lot of people get it wrong on this. They think, oh, well, why I can't rent it out for $2,000 a month. That's just the mortgage and the insurance. You know, you want to make sure whatever the mortgage, insurance, and all that is all covered by the renter. Okay, well then I'm not making any money. Listen, it's stupid to pay $250,000 or, you know, or whatever 75% of that is. It's stupid to pay that kind of money to make $400 a month. That's dumb. That doesn't actually matter. What you're trying to do here is you're trying, remember, you made like $68,000 from the refi, and now you're just pawning off the debt service to someone else. They're just covering the mortgage. That's all you care about. And here's why. In a couple years, 2 years goes down the road, the market will go up. They've been paying the mortgage, and so now maybe they've paid it down to the point where you only owe $200 and it's gone up to, you know, now it's worth $350. You can refi up to 75% of the $350 and pull cash out again, and then raise the rent. That's why rents get raised all the time. It's because they're refining and pulling cash out. So then what you can do is whenever someone is renting a home, you can file for depreciation tax. Depreciation tax basically says that, you know, that's a conversation for another time. So, but you can do depreciation tax. It's a write-off, and we'll go over that another day. So basically, all that to say is you could take that refi money and go buy more property with it. And you just keep doing this until you own something that's cash flowing, right? So you should take that $68,000 that you got from that cash out refi and buy more property. Whether it's an apartment complex, more houses, whatever it's going to be. But you need to buy more assets with it. And like I said, at that point, that property that you have is 100% bank owned, and somebody else is covering the debt service, covering the mortgage. So you have no money in it, and it's a pure asset. In a couple of years, you can either sell it or refi it, and you're going to get that money also. 2 years goes by, you sell the house, you make $200,000, you do a 1031 exchange. Guess what you're doing? You're going to buy more properties, right? And that's how I would do it if I was going to get into the fix and flip game. That's kind of like the start all the way to the big picture. And then there's so much more you can do within just that, right? Like there's so much stuff that goes into that, but it's just a lot for one video. So, but if I was gonna get into it, that's how I'd start. I'd start by fixing my credit. Oh, and I promised I'd tell the whole fixing your credit thing. Okay, so what you can do is, when it comes to fixing your credit, if you've got bad credit or no credit, is maybe your mom and dad's got good credit, a brother's got good credit, cousin's got good credit, best friend's got good credit. What you can do is you can say, hey, make me an authorized user on your account. They're going to mail a credit card with my name. You keep the credit card. I don't even want it. The reason you're doing that is because you instantly get their track record. Okay, so if they've got good credit with like a 800 credit score and a 20-year history, if it's your parents, or even if it's a couple-year history, but they got good credit, you now have that same history, right? So I was fortunate enough that my significant other had good credit. She had like an 800 credit score. And like I told you, after my divorce, my credit was shot. And what I did is I became an authorized user on her account. My credit went up 130 points in 30 days. That was enough to get me a credit card on my own name. And at that time, I had $10,000 worth of debt in debt collections from my ex-wife. So what I did is I took that credit card and I called the collection services and I paid the debt on that credit card. The minute you pay the debt in full, you get 25 points per every item that you pay off. So if you've got 10 things in collections, whether it's $10 or $1,000, every single one you pay off is 25 points towards your credit score. And then you just act like an adult and you actually pay the $10,000 back on the credit card, even whether it's all in one shot or over time. Actually make the payments on your credit card. And just like that, you'll have good credit again. So that's how you do that. Anyways, that's a lot for one video, but till next time.